And now it's the Terry Sullivan Show. Today's guests from Broken Halos Haven, Natalie Reed and Kjell Knudsen. Now the man that told me that if I wanted a raise, I'd have to play on top of the building, it's Terry Sullivan.
You know, there's a lot of things that you say that are nonsense, but that is a fact.
Yeah, I know.
You doing good?
I'm doing great. How you doing?
Man, you're handling that guitar over there. Mm-hmm. How long have you been playing, Terry?
Guitar?
Yeah.
Off and on.
Live. No, guitar.
Yeah, well, I started on keyboards. No, I started playing guitar when I was 12, off and on. I mean, and then I became a bass player. And I did that for a big chunk of my life.
Did you major in music in school, or is this just something that you just do well?
No, I took a few piano lessons when I was a kid. That didn't work out too well.
Well, you've been playing a long time.
I have been playing a long time.
It's like breathing for you. You know, I enjoy watching people that make things look easy, like professional athletes, professional musicians. I enjoy watching it, but a lot of times you don't realize how hard they worked to make it look easy.
Right. I can make this look easier than I did getting up this morning. that wasn't so easy.
Well, you were hoping for a day off, but then you realized you got to do the Sullivan Show.
Right. I thought I had the day off, and then went, oh man, I got to be up at 5 in the morning.
Terry, I've got Natalie and I've got Kjell with me today, and I'm glad you guys are here.
Thanks for having us. We practiced that in stereo.
Yeah, we got a lot of questions, but I'll tell you where we're going to start. So Natalie and Kjell own a place in Old Town Lewisville called what?
Broken Halos Haven.
Broken Halos Haven. We're going to talk about that because it's a very unique place, and you're doing a lot of good around the country with this business. And we're going to talk about what it's all about in just a minute. But where I want to go first is how long have you and Kjell been married? And by the way, that's an interesting name.
Yes, it is.
I mean, you spell it K-J-E-L.
2 L's.
2 L's. How do you get Kjell out of it? Nobody could get Kjell out of that.
I think that's how you get Kjell out of it, is because you figure out what makes the least amount of sense and go with it.
So when you and Natalie were dating, did she go, what?
Well, I had to give her the phonetics. But
it's a Norwegian name.
Norwegian heritage, absolutely.
Yeah.
But he grew up in Idaho.
Yeah. But she still reminisces that she got the Viking.
I did.
Oh, no.
I married a Viking.
That's awesome. So how long have you been married?
It'll be 3 years in June.
And how did you meet?
This crazy, new, fangled invention called the internet.
What's a fangled invention?
Newfangled invention.
So you end up in Idaho, you don't know those terms.
That's right.
You got to be in Texas to know newfangled.
They just now got some dot matrix printers up there.
It's kind of like fixing. You know, in Texas, if you say I'm fixing to do it, it could be now to a month from now.
I didn't know it was broken.
So you met on a Match deal.
On Match.com. He was not a murderer, serial killer, Unabomber. He was the unicorn amongst all the available guys when you're in your mid-40s.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. As you like to say, you were what?
Well, the shortest person in the...
No, the tallest guy in the shallow end of the pool.
But it was hopefully more than being that.
Yeah. So what'd you do? So you met on Match.com, and you know, most times those deals, they don't work. You know, but yours has worked, and you can tell
so
you guys
far.
are. Yeah, you guys. Well, good luck. And you can tell that you guys are just madly in love with each
Aren't
other,
we?
and that's great to see. When you first met, where did you meet up at?
Well, I've got to do a little fast. So she's still saved in my phone as Natalie Trackstopper, and so I'd been divorced a little over 5 years, and in and out of the dating world. I've got a daughter who's now 12 years old, and as I was just navigating the new thing called life, being divorced, single father, and going through the dating life cycle, it just never clicked. Where one, if we had met 2 years prior, I would have completely missed her because I wasn't in a place where I was ready. But when she pinged on the app, it's one of those deals where you go look at yourself in the mirror and you say, okay, this is what you've been praying about. This is what you've been talking about. And
God is good, isn't he?
God is amazing. And it was that. So she stopped me literally dead in my tracks, and it was like, this isn't one that you just get to go date. This is one that if you call her, if you ping her back, you're all in. And so I've been all in since day one.
So we married 7 months later.
So before you ever met her in person, you were all in.
All in. Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
I write a really good profile.
And you're only hoping, I hope that picture's current, right?
That's right. I even, in one of the captions, said, this is a no Botox and it was taken 3 weeks ago or whatever.
But my caveat's always been, first dates, we can always sit by the exit door. And either one of us, no strings attached, can say you're going to the bathroom and don't have to come back. So there's always the escape route.
So what did you wear? Or first of all, where did you go to meet her in person?
We went and had a very simple, exit easy lunch date
with Kevin.
With Kevin. We met at a restaurant, Bella Green, up in Dallas, and the tables are really close to each other. So there's this nice guy named Kevin sitting right table next to us, and really he was there for the first hour of our date. Our very first date, we got to know a lot about Kevin, and he was a really friendly guy. And
what
finally,
were you thinking? Were you thinking, what is this? What is it? Is he in on date with me? Or
he was not catching the hints.
I actually thought it was her testing me how I take care of and respond to other people. So if the only place I'm nice and hospitable is focused on her, and I'm not nice to other people, so I thought maybe she put a plan in there.
I should have been that smart.
Just seeing how I would react to other people, or when things don't go the way that I was planning, do I remain kind and nice and generous and outgoing?
Yeah.
So.
Well, Natalie is so beautiful. The first time you saw her, did you go, holy smoke? Have I hit the jackpot?
Yes, I did.
Yeah.
And I still do.
Thank you, Terry.
Yeah. And how about you, Natalie? I mean, when you saw his, whatever you call it, on Match.
Profile. Hopefully you'll never have to be on Match, Terry.
Yeah.
You're good.
Yeah.
So I had only been on Match for a couple of weeks. We'll get into why I was even on Match later. And I'd gotten really good within couple of seconds. Nope. For one, dating in your 40s is not fun because the caliber of men, not so much attracted to them, let's just say.
A lot of baggage.
A lot of baggage from, your first glance to reading. For me, if they had no mention of God or family in their first couple of lines, it showed me it wasn't important to them. So I'm like, nope. So when I saw Kjell's, and I'm like, obviously he's hot, and mentioned God and faith and family, I'm like, okay. And for me, I'm old-fashioned. I want to be pursued by a man.
Yeah.
And with Match, they give you your matches each day, and none of my matches were of any substance until I saw this one. And if I didn't right then send the like button, I would never find him again. It's like,
Terry, she did message me first.
I did.
Let's point that out.
Yeah,
but I really was like, I wish there was like a save for later button where you could really contemplate and think.
So wait a minute. So if you don't hit like, it's gone.
It's gone. You can't find them because the algorithm has selected these people for you.
Sort of.
So did you hit it pretty fast?
Yeah, I kind of did, but still, I was just like, I don't want to do this, but I did. We could say it's love at first like. So I liked him, pinged him, and that's when it all began.
So when you first met him at the restaurant, did you know in your heart of hearts, this is my guy?
Yeah, because we had actually, chatted on the phone for a couple of days or so before we met. So we already knew each other. And I've always had a 2-date rule. I'm like, within 2 dates, really, within the first one, whether or not they are of substance. And we had already kind of vetted each other out via texting and then phone calls before we even took the time. And really, I was just like, I've got other things to focus on besides dating, and I'm not going to waste my time. But obviously, it was not a waste.
Yeah. How often do you, apparently you pray together, you serve God together. How often do you say, thank you, God, for this?
Yeah, close daily.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's a blessing, and it's a blessing.
Yeah. Well, you two are great together. Let's talk about Broken Halos Haven.
Okay.
Because that's we've been fortunate at the restaurant to take a little part in some folks that you have hosted over there. Yeah. But tell me exactly what that is so that our audience knows exactly what we're talking about.
Well, when Kjell mentioned if we had met 2 years prior, we wouldn't have dated because I was still married. My husband, Wayne, died of a heart attack the day before school started in 2018.
I did not know that.
Our boys Joshua had just turned 15 the week before. Austin was about to turn 14, then Brody was 10. And he was 47 years old, had a checkup 6 weeks before, and the doctor said, I wished all 47-year-olds were as healthy as you. He worked out, he ate his vegetables, but he had a family history of heart disease. And his grandmother had died of a heart attack at 41. In front of him was an 11-year-old. He was the only one with her. Her brother had died of a heart attack at 43, and their dad had died of a heart attack at 39. So there was a family history of heart disease.
Was that on his mind?
Always in the back of his mind, but never. I mean, he ate healthy, worked out all the things.
And to try to circumvent that.
And the doctor said he was good. 6 weeks later, he died of a massive heart attack.
My goodness.
And we had been in Colorado for a week, and amazing time, and have some really great memories from that. Yeah. And then to lose him so suddenly with no warning signs at all. Yeah. And then here's where, since it's been 4.5 years since he died, the month or so after he died, someone had reached out and offered the boys and me an opportunity to go to this retreat center, I think near Mineral Wells, like 3.5 hours away in the middle of the woods, to kind of just get away from it all. Yeah. And I was like, I do not want to drive 3 hours to go sit in the woods and be sad. Yeah. That does not sound like fun to me, especially for boys that are active.
Well, and besides that, Natalie, to me, knowing you as I do, which is not very much, roughing it to you is probably a motel without room service.
You don't know me well enough. Terry,
you like the woods?
Oh my gosh, I grew up in East Texas.
Oh, well, you gotta like the woods.
Playing in the creeks, I worked at camp, just because I can put on some makeup.
So let me go back to this. So you had a wonderful marriage, and he was a wonderful husband, years. A wonderful father. Yes. That's hard to replace, and yet God brought Kjell along that fit right into those shoes. What a blessing.
Did not fit into these shoes, and that's what's amazing about Kjell. I was actually just got off the phone with a widow who is today, just 30 minutes ago. We'll get to it. Let me just say, she is starting her chapter 2. Her husband died of a massive heart attack at 32, and she just met someone a few months ago, and they are already planning to get married. And I was talking to her about, he must be an amazing man, because a man that can marry a widow is a different kind of man, because he will always be judged by those who knew the late husband. The late husband will always be the rock star up on a pedestal. Of course, we don't remember all the things that annoyed us about. Like every marriage has annoyances, but I don't remember those. Yeah. I remember how amazing Wayne was, and that's what people remember. And so to have a man like Kjell, who he's always said, I've learned to love and respect Wayne. And I've gotten to know Wayne in reverse by the stories that are told by those who knew him best. And so for him to honor and love my late husband, and he loves me because who I am, because of losing Wayne. Like, I'm a completely different person than I was before I became a widow and lost Wayne. And so I love differently, I live differently. And so he's always said losing Wayne is a part of who I am. And so he's never tried to be, a replacement dad for our boys. He is a stepfather to them. He is a parent to them. And he is the man who married Wayne's widow, but he is more than that. And so it takes a special man to deal with the emotions of a widow, the baggage of a widow.
It's a match made in heaven.
For sure, absolutely.
God knows what to do at the right time, doesn't he?
Yes.
So you go to Mineral Wells.
No, I choose not to.
You chose not to go.
Because I'm like, I don't want to go sit in the woods and be sad. But here's where, as that lingered in my mind, and as we approached our first Christmas without Wayne, so he died in August, 3 months later, Christmas is coming. Who wants to be home? Christmas morning, Dad's not there, grief triggers, and I'm like, we need to get away. And Wayne used to be a singles pastor at a large church in Dallas, and one of the girls who used to be in our ministry, I hadn't seen her in 10 years, flew down from New York City and told me afterwards, hey, if you and the boys ever want to get away, I've got a 3-bedroom apartment, we'd love for y'all to come. So I call her up, I'm like, hey, remember when you said, what are you doing over Christmas? And for me to even think of planning a trip, navigating a city all by myself, like widow's fog is a real thing. Your brain is shot. There's no way I could have done that.
Yeah.
But I could get us on a plane. So I got us on a plane Christmas Eve. We flew to New York and we spent a week up there making new memories, which is tough because there's a lot of guilt that comes with moving forward. You feel like, oh, if you really loved your husband, if I really loved my dad, I wouldn't be laughing and going to the movies and making, but that's not living. And so we had an amazing week.
So at what point, when you lose a husband like that, who is an amazing person, at what point, where's the line in the sand where you go over the line and you go, you know what, I got to start living again?
Yeah. It's different for everyone. And that's where you can never judge anyone's grief journey because it's really different for each person. Thankfully, I'm wired. I've always been pretty independent. And I think that's what Wayne loved about me, maybe Kjell loves about me too, is that I'm kind of just hit the ground running and do things and make decisions. And a lot of women are not so much, and they're a little more dependent upon that unit. And so I think I process my grief fairly quickly and more easily, and I have a very strong faith where I'm never going to question God. And I've always said that, if our ultimate goal on this earth is to glorify God and draw others to Him, who am I to say how that's done? And what we have done since Wayne's passing and because of Wayne's passing has had more impact on people than if he'd lived to be 80, 90 years old. I truly believe that. And so I am never going to question. It's not fair. Obviously, I wish Wayne was still here. I wish my boys still had their dad. Would never wish this pain on anyone. Yeah. But that was God's purpose for me. And we live in a broken world, and until we're on the other side, we'll never get the answers.
So you go to New York. Is this where the birth of a broken halos happen?
No, not at all.
They're just seeds so far. They're not even watered.
Well, and the birth came from I'm doing all the talking. What do you want to? You want to say something?
No, this.
So when
just jump in whenever.
See, steamroller, just come
raise a hand. Tell me when I'm in.
But when Kjell and I,
she's the best guest to have because I just give her a line and she goes.
Yeah.
How long did you?
I told you we could just kind of do one of these.
I tell you what, why don't you?
Am I up?
Why don't you get a pillow for Kjell?
It's about to be your turn. I'm gonna
two
wrap
pillows.
up.
I need a cuddle one too.
Hey, just sit over there and look handsome. We'll nudge you when it's time.
Right. But here's what's great. So when Kjell and I met, he's living in a house that he'd gone through divorce and bought this, starting over home, cookie cutter house. But he'd done such amazing things of, shiplap on the walls and barn doors and concrete counters, and had just really put his touch and built things. And so as we were thinking about getting married, we were like, oh, maybe we could buy houses or renovate them and flip them. That was kind of a thought that had come to mind. Well, I'm telling the whole story, but I'm gonna just keep telling it. He's gonna give up his world and move into our world. So he's gonna sell his house. We're planning to get married, move into our world, and
Gabby and I are.
Yeah, yes. As we are packing his house, I'm in the bathroom packing some boxes up. He's in the kitchen packing some boxes up. And I was just kind of, thinking and dreaming. And I was thinking about the trip the boys and I had taken to New York. And I was like, well, let's buy houses and renovate and all the things. And then I started thinking of the widows that I had been collecting. I called myself the widow collector. As every week or so, someone will reach out, Natalie, my friend's husband just died. Can you connect with her?
So God was preparing you along the way, yes.
So we have all these widows that we've been collecting, and I was like, man, I wish there was something for widows. And then that's when the idea came, like, man, what if we could have a retreat place in the heart of Dallas-Fort Worth where there's so much to do, so many fun activities, close to the airport, so it's available to anybody in the country that can hop on a plane. What if we could have a retreat center, find a house, renovate it, and then open it up to widows? So I walk into the kitchen to tell Kjell this idea that's brewing, and a little backstory for Wayne's service. He was a huge Chris Stapleton fan, and the song Broken Halos had just come out maybe a month or so before he died. The video I made for the Celebration of Life service, I'd used the song Broken Halos. And for weeks and months after, this song followed people. People would text me, I went to a restaurant, that song's on. I get in the car, that song's on. Broken Halos would follow us everywhere we went. So I go tell Kjell the idea. We'd been listening to Pandora, and right as I'm telling him, guess which song comes on? And I'm like, and we should call it Broken Halos Haven. And that's where the idea was birthed. And then what happened? I'll stop talking.
So she tells you it's her idea, her vision.
Well, my recollection is a little different. It was
it always is, right?
Yeah. We prior to this, we really knew there was a calling, something bigger than just having jobs and just getting married and just doing life.
Okay.
We really knew that there was something, I think individually that we were being called to, and then as we came together saying, okay, how do we, because of the blessing, because of what's in front of us, how do we best honor this? And so it had been brewing in our mind to how are we going to best serve? And then that's as it came to fruition of, okay, we said, there's a local way that we can serve, take advantage of the talents that we have, and then it gave its birth.
So where did you come up with the place that you're in?
Again, by complete mistake.
Do you know Randy Dukes, Repeat Realty?
Yeah.
Randy and I had met probably 10 years prior. We were both bloggers, and we had met at some blogger event. Both our husbands had met, and so we'd been friends. And then she gets into the real estate business, and I'm like, oh yeah, I have a friend who's a realtor. And a few months before we got married, so this was in March when the idea came, we were getting married in June, and I told Randy, hey, we are open to any property within 15 minutes of DFW. And so she'd start sending us emails to see what's out there. The day after our wedding, we're in the hotel room, and I get one of Randy's emails, and I'm like, we need to go look at this house today. And Kjell's like,
yeah, that part's true.
Today? And I'm like,
yeah.
Like now. He's like, really? So we come over, and we got married in the middle of COVID, so our hotel was like in Flower Mound. We got married in the park. I mean, this was a COVID lockdown wedding, so we were close by. We got grab breakfast at 7 Mile Cafe, and then we meet Randy at this house on College Street. And we walk through the house, and we're looking at it, and we're like, not so much for us. And then we're standing outside talking to Randy, and we look to the left of this house, and we see this boarded up, ramshackle house on the corner that should have been torn down. And there's a for sale sign in front of it. Yeah. Randy calls the number, and the realtor was like, oh, the door's been kicked in. You can just walk right through it. And so all three of us this thing's pitch black
Looked
inside.
like a haunted house.
It really is. Middle of the day, but it's pitch black. We all have our phones. We're like thinking we're going to run upon squatters in there. And we walk through there, and we're like, this is the one. And what's crazy is we find out later the listing agent had put the wrong zip code. So if anyone was looking for a house in Old Town, they never would have found it. The way we found it is because we looked at the one next to it.
Well, now, so this house needs a lot of work.
Yeah.
Do you do the work?
Yeah. And a volunteer here and there. But we did it all.
So Natalie, she's not worried about this. She goes, I got the guy that can do this.
Yeah.
But tell them, is that really what your background is, or what did we call the house?
Yeah, that we built through Google search.
The house that Google built, because we'd never renovated a 100-year-old house before.
Yeah, I think my strongest talent is perseverance, because everything that you see in the now house, it took me 3 efforts to get there. So I would do it, and it didn't quite work. Let's do it again.
Yeah.
Didn't quite work. Now we'll do it third time. And
All right, so we're running. He just gave me my signal on time. We're running out of time because we could talk for several hours, and so we're going to have to do another show. But what is the purpose of Broken Halos Haven?
Yeah. Mainly it is to give these widows, and widowers are invited. We've never had one man come up. It really is for widows who, they just have a special need to get
young widows.
Young widows with school-aged kids, stay, no cost, 3 days, 2 nights. It's just to give them that push of, you can do this alone. You are an only parent, you're not a single parent, you're the only one. And it's to give them a retreat from their new norm, their everyday life, just to get away, to empower them to be like, okay, you can travel alone with your kids. Okay, you need to get away from your house just for a weekend. And so that's the purpose of Broken Halos Haven Grief Retreat. 3 blocks away, we bought another piece of property that we are about to have this fundraiser for, and it will be kid-centric. So last year we started Man Camp. Every month or so, we have all these little boys who've lost their dads. They come together and they learn how to do all the things their dad would have taught them. How to shake a hand, how to change a tire, how to throw a football. And then we started in January Shift, which is a weekly grief support group for kids, K through 5th right now, and then in the fall we'll add 6th through 12th. So we have these programs just for Denton County kids that are dealing with their grief. So this facility, 3 blocks from Halos, is going to be called The Haven. And we're gonna have some fun things like an indoor spiral slide in a grain silo, a soft rage room, an art studio for Shift. So we have a fundraiser on April 18th. We've rented out the Grand Theater. I've written a one-woman show called How to Live a Great Story, Maintaining Your Faith When the Chapters Are Rewritten. My background is musical theater, so I sing songs and make people laugh and cry.
How did I not know that?
But more importantly, if you listen to country music, Corey Kent, who has a top 15, Wild as Her is his song that's top 15. He was just nominated for a CMT award. His mother-in-law is one of my dear friends for the last 20 years, which is the only reason why we were able to get him to come play at some 300-seat. It's pretty. That's going to be on the 18th. After that, the performances, people will walk 2 blocks up to Broken Halos Haven, tour the house, have some food from Sip and Savor restaurant, dessert from Buttermilk Pie Sky, and hopefully start writing some checks, because we're trying to raise $250,000 to build that facility, which, when we're not using it for our programs, will be available. Churches can rent it out. They're looking for a lock-in, corporate retreat center, so it will be it'll be a fully functioning, and it will pay for itself over time.
You guys are doing a magnificent work, a God work, and God has blessed you for it. You're such a wonderful couple, and I'm so glad that you were able to come and talk about this. We're going to have you back and talk more about it, because I can tell that you got about 3 more hours that you can discuss.
He cut me off pretty well, didn't he?
But I hope you a great success on your fundraiser. Great success going forward. You don't need any good luck, because you got God backing you. Thanks for being here. Terry, let's go, buddy.